Striz here, Smart Movers Club. Welcome, Smart Movers. We are talking about moving out of New York City today. Let's say you're thinking about moving out of New York City, and let's say you're thinking about North Carolina. If you're thinking about that, then this video may help you today, and if it does, leave something in the chat for me and let me know if you've been thinking about leaving New York City. All right, so if you make $100K a year in New York City right now, and you could take that income and you could go to a place like Raleigh, North Carolina, we're gonna see how much you could earn actually just leaving the state of New York. Let's see how much New York is actually leaving you with, right? So New York State and New York City residence tax, if you're in Brooklyn, you're in the Bronx, you're in Staten Island, you're in wherever, Long Island, one of the 5 boroughs, okay? You have to pay almost 2 taxes, okay? You're paying the New York City residence tax and you're paying the New York State tax. So those, after the $8,000 standard deduction, and we're basing it off of 100K here, 8,000's gone, so you're left with 92 taxable income. That's about $8,393 a year that New York State and City is wiping from you, okay? North Carolina, just in case you didn't know, has a flat 4.25%. I gotta look over there, I keep forgetting. I just love looking at those clouds behind me. I'm like a space cadet. All right, so North Carolina flat 4.25%. $87,250 is the taxable income after North Carolina $12,750 standard deduction. That equals about $3,708 a year. So the annual savings just on income taxes leaving New York and going to North Carolina, it's $4,685. So that's $4,685 that you could be putting into rental property. You could be putting it in your portfolio. You could be putting it in your vacation if you're that type of person. You could be putting it, storing it away for the future. You could be, sitting on it under your mattress, whatever the case may be. Let's talk about housing. This is where you're gonna see the most savings on your 100K, okay? All right, average 1-bedroom rent in Brooklyn, all right, let's say, because I gotta pick one, is about $3,000. To be exact, the average is $2,955, okay? So that's about $35,460 a year. $35,460 a year. You know that you're riding the MTA with that number. You know that you on public transit, because if you have a car on top of that, or if you even think about getting something in the 2020 and up, you're paying another crazy, probably $1,000 a month on top of that. But let's stay with just the housing. All right. So if the average 1-bedroom in Raleigh, we're talking about the Research Triangle area too, is $1,400, and I'm rounding up here, guys. Okay, so we got $1,358 a month. That's $16,296. Let's say $17,000 a year. So the annual rent savings just moving out of New York and going to North Carolina is about $19,164. That's on housing. You're already saving $4,685 on the income tax, and now you're adding another $19,164 on what? On the back end of your housing. Okay, so let's say you stay in Raleigh for 3 years, okay? You want to rent for 3 years, and you're staying in there, and then you're thinking about buying a house in North Carolina. Just on taxes and housing, let's see how that fares out, okay? So the tax savings plus the rent savings, that's $23,849 you're keeping in your pocket for a year, okay? The 3-year total, just by moving from New York to Raleigh and sitting in North Carolina for 3 years and renting, you're saving $71,547. Now, of course, we're not including what you put in your 401k. We're not including your past debts. We're just staying very topical with it. All right. So let's say you want to buy a house in Raleigh because you can't in New York. but you can in Raleigh. Let's see what we got. Let's make some assumptions here. So the Raleigh's average home value right now is $435,000. That's, let's say you're putting 20% down, more of a commercial side. You could go FHA depending on where the mortgage rates are, 6-7%, 10% down, 3% down, 7% down. But we're just gonna bank this on 20% down here just to keep it flat, okay? 30-year fixed currently is at 6.5%. Wake County effective property taxes let's look at this, because in New York it's, I believe, I'm sorry I spit out there, but I think it's 2 point. Let's look at the property taxes in New York. Hold on one quick second. I don't like to think when the answer is right here. Okay, all right. Property tax, New York state right now. Well, I should put city. Let me put the city. All right. So 0.88. So it's 0.88 in Kings County. New York County, it's 0.68. Queens County, the rate is 0.87. New Jersey is actually higher than that. New Jersey is, I believe, is in 2 point something, okay? However, New York's property tax is low, but it's the home values that are crazy. That's why people cannot afford homes in New York. However, let's get back to the plan here. All right, so the assumptions. You buy a Raleigh, average home values $435,720, 20% down, 30-year fixed at 6.5. In Wake County, effective property tax is 0.712%. That's lower than New York, lower home values. It equals about 1.8K a year for the property tax. So let's talk about this. Insurance, you're looking at 1.8 a year. For property tax, about $3,102 a year. For the mortgage, principal plus principal but interest is $26,438 a year. Let's put that all in perspective now. Mortgage, P&I, principal and interest, property tax, and insurance. Plus you got to do the owner carrying costs in Raleigh, the whole thing. Don't forget, you got to add some for maintenance and things like that. This is just, again, topical. So don't come at me in the comments and say, but what about, okay? Right now, for the year, it's going to be $31,340 a year, okay? Comparing to staying in New York, in Brooklyn as a renter. This is as a renter in New York. It's $35,460 a year. So your saving, housing saving, is $4,120 a year owning in Raleigh versus renting in New York. You see that? So let's add the savings, the other savings now. New York City tax savings versus North Carolina, that's $4,685 a year. So the total kept after buying is $8,805 more dollars a year, plus you're building equity. You know, you can make it 100K, income tax is lower. What you're saving on, you know, let's not even talk about the first 3 years that you've been renting in North Carolina. You got about $71,547 in the first 3 years. You think to buy a house now, and you're still keeping a net savings of $8,805 more dollars per year. Plus, on top of that, you're building equity in that home. And when you talk about if you're getting a rental property, now you're adding even more value on top of that. So while renting 1 to 3 years, about $24K more in your pocket, $72K over 3 years, moving from New York City to Raleigh. If you would like information like this, I know it's numbers, it's data, right? But this is the stuff that we have to start asking now, because we're laser focused on the next 20 years. Okay, you made some money, you made some mistakes, you got the experience, you've been building, but we got to kind of change the trajectory, not do things the same way we did in the last 20 years. And we're doing things for the next 20 years that are more focused on data, making more educated decisions, data focused decisions, not your cousins or your mama's decisions. Okay, so if you like information like this is the information we give out on a daily basis. So I invite you to join Club Daily, Smart Movers Club. Club Daily it's a free newsletter. We give you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in your inbox, and it reads in 5 minutes. So we're not trying to kill you with time. And plus it's a fun read. We try to make it fun for you. Head over to smartmoversclub.com to get information like this. So if you are leaving New York City and going to North Carolina and then buying a home, after 3 years in North Carolina, after saving $71,000, right? In 3 years, you could still have a peace of mind, build equity, and have in your pocket over $8,000 a year just on taxes and housing alone. We're not even talking about cost of living yet. We're not even talking about the other stuff. All right? Hope you love this. Enjoyed this video. Hit me with a like and hit me with a subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.